Hi, it's Jason Ayers from mobilehomeparkclassroom.com. Let's talk about investing in mobile home parks. You know, right now, investing in mobile home parks it's kind of trendy. It's very popular, and for good reason. The mobile home park business can be a very profitable and very lucrative investment. You're dealing very often with a tenant base who they need an affordable place to live. And at the same time, you don't have to own the homes themselves, unlike an apartment complex where you own the entire unit. You may pay quite a bit of money in order to acquire the apartment complex per unit. With mobile home parks, very often, unless you have park-owned homes, you're just owning the land. And then the job essentially becomes to attract the right tenants to the park, to manage them well, to be competitive, and to run your park in a way that maximizes profitability while reducing any kind of stress that you might run into, either from tenants or from legal issues or anything that can pop up. And, aside from finding the right park in the right market with the right base of tenants, which is a key component of investing in mobile home parks, and really doing your due diligence on the park itself and really analyzing the market to make sure that your source of tenants isn't going to just disappear. For example, if one employer shuts down operations or if a military base shuts down operations, for example. The next thing that is crucially important to look at is, does the park have a system in place to find, hire, and train the right property manager? Because a property manager is kind of the key person in the mobile home park business. They can either create a very nice kind of almost stress-free investment for you if they're trained properly, if they're putting the right tenants in, if they're managing those tenants well, if they're proactively dealing with any issues that are coming up, if they know how to market and advertise the park, and if they know how to work with the contractors and they know how to deal with any kind of maintenance issues or potential legal issues that are coming up. A manager like that's trained well can just really make this a great business. But then there's kind of a darker side to the business. If those processes are not in place and the park ends up hiring the wrong manager or ends up hiring the right manager but doesn't train them well, then the business can turn into somewhat of a nightmare. And, as an investor, you kind of want to minimize the amount of stress, obviously, that your investment is going to cause you, and you want to get the biggest ROI that you can. So with the wrong property manager in there, they can put the wrong tenants into the park. They can pull all kinds of shenanigans and maybe putting in people who aren't necessarily paying the rent to you, to the investor. They may be pocketing the money. Embezzlement can be an issue. They can create all kinds of legal issues in how they deal with the tenants, in how they deal with maintenance issues that need to be dealt with, in how they deal with complaints that come up. We've been through this. So my family has 3 generations in the mobile home and RV park business. My grandparents, my parents, and then my brother and I have all been in the business. And we made a lot of mistakes along the way. And those were costly. You run into some issues where you have to go to court for evictions and all kinds of things. And there are just a lot of mistakes that you can make until you discover the right way to run a mobile home park and to deal with the tenants and all the issues that came up. So what we ended up doing was we created something called mobilehomeparkclassroom.com. And that way we can find, hire, and manage property managers and then hand them a complete training system that has everything except for the particulars about a park, like the rental rates, some specific documentation, just the small things that are specific to a park. And they can go through, the property manager can go through these 12 modules. They can watch the role play videos to learn how to deal with calls in a way that will attract the right kind of tenants to the park, how to tour the property, how to rent the spaces and fill out the lease and all the documentation, how to deal with and mitigate potential legal issues, how to deal with finances and taxes and insurance, how to deal with problematic tenants, how to deal with tenants that are just moving in, to set the right tone so that that tenant will be encouraged and motivated to pay the rent on time and to keep their place up and to follow the rules. How to deal with contractors, how to deal with maintenance requests. The list kind of goes on and on. The property management in the mobile home park business is one of the most difficult forms of property management because you don't own the homes and you're often dealing with tenants who may come from a lower economic status. They may have credit issues, they may have past rental issues, and there are a lot of things that come up. So it is really challenging compared to, for example, managing apartments or managing commercial property. So that's why we created Mobile Home Park Classroom, to give us leverage and to make sure that our parks will run well. And it saves us about 80 to 120 hours per property manager that we hire, and $4,000 to $6,000 in terms of our own time that is saved by just being able to hand them a system that they can follow and put in place that really makes the whole thing easy, enjoyable, and profitable. I mean, you need to, you're in the business for profits and to maximize your ROI. So you need to look at which park you're selecting and then how that park's being run and who's running it. So if that sounds interesting to you, head over to mobilehomeparkclassroom.com to find out how you can find, hire, train, and manage the right property manager to look after your mobile home park investment.